Alright, in this video we're going to talk about parallel lines being cut by a transversal, and we're going to talk about the angle relationships and the measures that they share with each other. So one thing to keep in mind as we go through this lesson is that what the word supplementary means. Again, the word supplementary means supplementary angles are two angles that add up to 180 degrees. So they make a straight line. So the first question that they ask us is to name the parallel lines. Well, again, parallel lines mean that they will never cross or never intersect. So the two lines here that never intersect are line M and line N. So line M and line N will never intersect. Transversal means the line that cuts through them. So the line that cuts through the two parallel lines is line P. Now, the important thing to note is the relationships between the angles and their measures that we're going to talk about in this video only apply when these two angles, or the two lines that are cut by the transversal, are parallel. If they're not parallel, the rules for the angles being supplementary or congruent do not apply. So again, the two lines have to be parallel in order for these following rules to apply. Alright, so let's get started. So number 3 says to name and highlight the vertical angle. So I'm going to take a few colored highlighters here and highlight the vertical angles. Now, vertical angles are, the best way to describe it would be across from each other. And vertical angles are congruent. So the little symbol for congruent is the equal sign with a squishy above it. So the vertical angles here would be angle 1 and angle 4. It would be angle 2 and angle 3. Angle 5 and angle 8. And angle 6 and angle 7 in our picture. So again, the vertical angles here are angle 2 is congruent to angle 3, angle 1 is congruent to angle 4, angle 5 is congruent to angle 8, and angle 6 is congruent to angle 7. And again, these vertical angles will always be congruent regardless if these are parallel or not. So those are vertical angles. Next up we have alternate interior angles. Now remember, alternate means if you're alternating turns, that means going back and forth. Those are on opposite sides of the line. And interior means inside. So inside the parallel lines. So it has to be inside these parallel lines here we're looking. So the ones that qualify for inside, interiors, are 3, 4, 5, and 8. And again, they have to be alternate interior. And I will tell you that alternate interior angles, or AIA, are congruent. So we look at these angles right here, and I know that we have 4, and alternate interior with that would be 5. 4 and 5 are the exact same size, or measure. And the other alternate interior angle pair is angle 3 and angle 6. And again, alternate interior angles are congruent. So we can say angle 4 is congruent to angle 5, and angle 3 is congruent to angle 6. Those are alternate interior angles. Again, they're on the opposite sides of the transversal, and they have to be inside the parallel lines. Alternate exterior angles. Now again, the word alternate means opposite sides of the parallel or of the transversal. Exterior means outside the parallel lines. So if we're looking at these two parallel lines here, the ones that qualify for exterior are 1, 2, 7, and 8. And I will tell you that alternate exterior angles, or AEA, are also congruent. And you might be asking yourself, are they all congruent? And the answer is going to be no. There's one pair that are not. So 2, and again we have to look on the outside, so down here 7 or 8, Angle 2 is congruent with angle 7. Those are alternate exterior. And angle 1 is an alternate exterior angle with angle 8. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 8. Angle 2 is congruent to angle 7. And again, alternate exterior angles are congruent. That means if angle 1 was 100 degrees, angle 8 would also be 100 degrees. Alright, corresponding angles. Corresponding angles would be the same position, just, I'm going to say, slide it down. And corresponding angles are also congruent. So let's talk about what I mean when I say slide it down, same position. So angle 1 right here is resting on top of this parallel line M, angle 1 is resting on top of line M. If I slide it down and on the same position, resting on top of line N, is angle 5. Likewise, angle 3 is just below angle M, and if I slide that down, angle 7 is just below line N. Coming on the other side of the transversal, angle 2 is just above line M. If I slide down in the same position, angle 6 is right above line N, and angle 4 is just below line M on the right side, and just below line N on the right side of the transversal would be angle 8. So corresponding angles, we can say angle 1 is congruent to angle 5, angle 3 is congruent to angle 7, angle 2 is congruent to angle 6, and angle 4 is congruent to angle 8. Flipping it over to the back. Same side interior. Sometimes people call them consecutive interior. And again, we have that word interior, meaning they have to be, in order to qualify, they have to be inside the lines here. So again, it has to be inside M and N, so 3, 4, 5, and 6 are the only ones that qualify. And again, this one says same side instead of alternate, so we're going to be on the same side of the transversal. So let's look at what that means. And by the way, same side interior angles are supplementary, which means they add to 180, and they are not congruent. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. So again, we have to be on the same side of the transversal, which is P, and they have to be inside lines M and N. So again, we have 3, 4, 5, and 6 to count, and 4 and 6 are on the same side of the transversal, and 3 and 5 are on the same side of the transversal. And if you look, 5 and 3 are not the same size angle, and neither are 6 and 4. So we can say angle 4 plus angle 6 equal 180. And then we could say angle 3 plus angle 5 equals 180. And our last pair of angle relationships would be same side exterior. We don't do these too often, but again, exterior means they have to be on the outside of the lines, which is going to be on the outside, the above line M, below line N, and again, they have to be on the same side, just like over here. Same side exterior are supplementary again, which means again they add to 180, and they are not congruent. So let's look again. In order to qualify, they have to be above line M, below line N, in order they're exterior. So we have angle 2, and on the same side of the transversal we have angle 8. And on the other side of the transversal, the exterior angles would be angle 1 sitting above line M, and angle N sitting below, or angle 7 sitting below line N. So because they're supplementary, they add to 180, so I say angle 2 plus angle 8 equals 180. Angle 1 plus angle 7 equals 180. Alright, now let's try a couple of problems here. So it says if you know the measure of one of the 8 angles, you can find the measure of all of the others. So if they're telling us angle 1 is 120 degrees, again, 120 degrees, angle 1 and angle 4 are vertical angles. So because angle 1 and angle 4 are vertical angles, that equals 120 degrees. Corresponding with number 1 would be angle 5. And we know that corresponding angles are congruent, so that's also 120. Now, angle 8 and angle 5 are vertical. Vertical angles are congruent, so that means that must be 120. And if you notice right here, we have angle 4 and angle 6. Those are going to be same side interior. They're on the same side of the transversal. So I know that these angles right here, angle 4 and angle 6, must equal 180. So the way I get angle 6 is I do 180 minus 120. Because they add up to 180, I can do 180 minus 120. That angle is 60. Now angle 6 and angle 2 are corresponding. Corresponding angles are congruent. That's also going to be 60. Angle 2 and angle 3 are vertical angles, and vertical angles are congruent, so that must be 60. And again, down here we have 6 and 7, which are also vertical angles, so those are congruent. So angle 7 is also 60 degrees. If you notice, all of our angles are either one of 2 measures. In this case, they're either 120 degrees or 60 degrees. Now you will try the bottom example down here.